What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Polestar. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's been coming out from the company itself, and what to expect to come next. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So on Wednesday, it did go down 1.6%. So the market has been trying to digest their recent discussion, so their Q1 earnings call. And they did tentatively put out some numbers as well. So they did give their Q2 numbers alongside many other EVs did over this last week. So in case you do not know, they did 7,200 in deliveries in Q1, 13,000 in Q2. They did do about 15% layoffs, fewer positions, and that's obviously over and above what they did in 2023. As far as cash, kind of in line what they generally always do have. So 784 million, oh that's butchered, but 784 million in cash and cash equivalents. And so some other highlights or key points I didn't go over. So Polestar 3 in South Carolina is still on track. Polestar is set for start in South Korea. During their discussion, they did reiterate that they plan to be profitable or at least break even in 2025. So I kind of found that interesting because I popped over to IBKR just to see what analysts are expecting, and you can kind of see this right here. Analysts do not believe that by any means. So most likely it is going to be based on this trajectory, like second half of 2026. And so it's very unfortunate. They do say quite a lot in their earnings, their Q1 earnings, that the first half was unfortunate. A lot of hiccups, and I completely agree with them. I think there is some opportunity for them to move higher, but the market is so right now, and especially for the whole EV market. Yes, you can give the best future guidance, but like Polestar, yeah, to be fully honest, Polestar didn't even give that much of good future guidance. There was no real reason to go out and buy Polestar right now. Yes, they're going to continue on the status quo, but in essence, just nothing really is wowing. There's so much better opportunity out there. And my last couple of videos, I did say that once they submit their earnings, in theory, it should go up, because where it was at, which was at like 75 cents when I was doing those videos, there's very little downside. But at this price point, there's also very little upside. So in my opinion, I think between that 75-cent range and where we're at right now, which is around 89 cents, that's kind of that happy price point. And it did actually on Wednesday hit a high of roughly like 98 cents, a low of 89 cents, which is kind of where it did close at. But still, nonetheless, there was nothing that really wowed me. So what's your thoughts on that? When it comes down to shorts though, with these new numbers inputted in the system, we should have the true short interest percentage coming fairly soon. But based on the actual previous reports, it should be around that 16% range. So very high from what we previously did know, which was roughly 12%, give or take. 27.38 million shares overall are being shorted, utilization 89.3. And based on the last several trading days, even though Polestar kind of showed some signs of bottoming, there was a lot of good, optimism associated to this Q1 earnings. Still, nothing really crazy, and no institutions really paying attention to it. So for instance, even on the 2nd, that was the last transaction over $100,000 occurring on the secondary market, and there was only one. Prior to that, it was on the 28th, 27th. So institutions aren't really getting into Polestar despite everything. So it's a very unfortunate scenario, and like I've said, technically, I think the timing of it coming out on July the 2nd was very advantageous to Polestar and probably didn't really go how they saw it, because in my opinion, they had to get over $1 and close above $1 in order for that 30 consecutive trading days to be null and void. But especially how things played out, Polestar did trade below $1 for 30 consecutive days. So what does that mean? That means most likely Friday, if not early next week, then the NASDAQ is going to serve Polestar with kind of delisting notice or a delisting notice. And so ultimately Polestar does have 6 months to rectify that. So trading above $1 for 10 to 20 consecutive trading days, that is merely up to the NASDAQ. Obviously, given Polestar's track record, it's going to be fair to assume it'll be 10, but still Polestar now has kind of a target. So they have to get above $1. And shorts know this, so this is where things could get very, very scary for Polestar. And it's very backwards. I've brought this up time and time again. Polestar, hands down, is the most discounted EV out there. And sometimes it just does not make sense. I've been covering Polestar on and off for about a year and a half. And it's been a very, very wild ride. A lot of it has not made sense, but there's been a couple very much constant stuff or constant scenarios, one of which is big money overlooking Polestar. So for the longest time, Wall Street could not give two craps about Polestar. I don't know if it has to do with the import tariffs and just how Polestar is really struggling to integrate into the States, which that should change by the end of this summer, as what they even do bring up right here, such as with the Polestar 3. But still, like, there's just a lot of negativity surrounding Polestar. So it's a very unique circumstance. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Quickly going back over to IBKR, I'll give you an overview of some of the analyst ratings, some of the latest ones. So it looks like there was a couple that did come in. One was a sell, $1 price target done by Barclays, Dan, who does have a 39% success rating. And then aside from that, $1.15 done by Bernstein, Danielle, who has a 52% success rating. So analysts, once again, do not like Polestar, and they didn't like the earnings, which in my opinion were kind of justified, right? Like, there was absolutely nothing to wow investors. And I think just analysts right now just are calling out their BS. So what's your thoughts on their earnings? Did you guys participate? Did you listen in? My apologies on not live streaming that. That was my intention. Just I think something came up, unfortunately, but regrettably, I don't think I missed all that much. I would have said the exact same thing as I am saying now. Aside from all of that though, going over some additional data points. So looking at options, 58,000 in calls, 6,200 in puts. After their earnings, you have seen a increase a little bit in options activity, so that could be a positive thing. But then again, a lot of the options that's been occurring is negative. So based on Wednesday, 65% of all the options were bearish and clearly anticipating more of a downtrend. And how Polestar is, they only have monthly options. And where it is right now, like, you're either doing $1 or 50 cents. There's not really much craziness for that. So $1 is kind of anticipated based on the bulls, and then on the bears, kind of sub $1. So like I said, it kind of just stuck in limbo. But moving on though, looking right now with it at 89.02, it is trading between this R1 and this R2. So 92 cents is going to be that next strong resistance / target. On the flip side, 86 cents is going to be that next strong support that you'll want to watch for Polestar to hold out. Aside from that, you have 77 and then 68 cents is going to be the following support levels. So in my opinion, given the circumstances, I think the broader market might actually push Polestar a little bit higher. But as obviously even post their earnings, it's been struggling with that $1 range, and it desperately needed to get above that. So by it failing, shorts now can double down and really start to add a lot of downward pressure on Polestar. And with them possibly getting a notice, this is where institutions, even though there's not all that much, you might see them starting to kind of return some shares. And based on the latest 13Fs, to go back to IBKR once again, looking at the ownership, 22.61 million shares is held by institutions, 222 by strategic entities, and then 222 by other, which is AKA retail. So institutions do own about 4.83% of the float. So potentially as a byproduct of their earnings and them possibly getting that NASDAQ delisting notice, that might spook the last of the institutions, prompting more of a downward pressure. So I think there is still more pain coming for Polestar before things do get better. I completely disagree with Polestar about them being break even in 2025. I do kind of agree with the analyst that it will be probably first or second half of 2026, but that's assuming everything goes according to plan. So let me know your thoughts on Polestar. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with Polestar? And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.